open loop framework. So these are kind of a couple requirements for what I deem to be a strong open loop. You don't have to have all of these requirements, but this is more of a guideline when writing these open loops. So let's look at this. Right, number one, start with curiosity. Right, ask yourself, what unresolved question will keep my audience watching? So how did I double my income in 30 days? What's the number one mistake every beginner makes on YouTube? Why did my most expensive video completely tank? Right, if you can create open loops around these questions that lead to your next point, that acts as a setup, I think that is super powerful. Right, so the question should directly appeal to your audience's interests and pain points. So interest is what your audience likes, and pain points are problems that your audience wants to solve. So your open loops need to appeal to either of them to be considered a strong open loop. Step two in writing an open loop is to build tension. So you want to create enough tension to hook the viewer, but don't resolve it too soon, right? As I said, one of the mistakes is resolving it too soon. So you want to build tension. So like tension is kind of like when there's stress, right? The viewer really wants to know what it is, but you don't release tension too early. So this one mistake cost me $10,000, right? Stay tuned to find out what it was, right? I found a way to double retention rates, but it's something most creators overlook, right? The second one especially is pretty strong, right? It's something most creators overlook. Why do most creators overlook it, right? And this creates a bunch of questions that you'll later want to resolve. I'll share more about that later, right? You'll see exactly how I did it in a minute. Number three is a strategic delay, right? So it's not just rely on one open loop, it's to introduce new loops throughout the video to maintain engagement, right? So you really want to layer your open loop. So you say you start with, hey, this strategy doubled my revenue in 30 days, and I'm going to talk about that later. And then midway, you'd be like, hey, but before I show you that, let me tell you about the mistake that held me back for years, right? So kind of like when you're watching a movie, there's like multiple story plots, right? You kind of have the A plot and the B plot going on. So like the A plot is like maybe say the main plot for the character, and there's a B plot going on. So usually these two plots are moving in conjunction, and sometimes you switch between the two, right? But the A plot really is like the main video timeline, or like the main thing that's happening in the video. But you also want to have a B plot, and kind of the B plot is like, hey, let me tell you about this other thing that's also adjacently related to the plot A, right? Which is like the main content of the video. You can create a secondary open loop within your video that makes this super strong and improves your retention that way. That's one of the ways that I think about it too. Another example, right? The main loop is, hey, this one strategy doubled my income. Secondary loop was first, let me show you the mistake that cost me $10,000. And the supporting loop is the reason this works is fascinating. So here you're really like layering your open loops. It's not just like one sentence, right? That the open loop is, you don't just say one sentence and just hope that, okay, they get hooked by it, right? You can layer it, right? So you can create curiosity. It's like, hey, if you continue watching, you'll get this benefit, and then we'll alleviate this pain. So there's multiple different layers you can do to it, to really build up that curiosity and really hype up the point that you're talking about. And once again, the thing is, when you really, really want to hype up the point, like, hey, you're going to get all of this, you're going to get all of this, you're going to get all of this when you continue watching, you need to pay it off, right? The actual content that you deliver really needs to deliver on the promise that you made. And if you don't deliver on the promise, that really limits the viewer satisfaction, that really limits the strength of your video, how actually good the content is. So you really want to pay off when you have massive open loops, when you create this massive curiosity. I want to emphasize that over and over again, because it's really easy to just write these open loops to improve retention and never deliver on it. And if you don't ever deliver on it, that's when your audience, isn't as loyal, isn't as strong. So step 4 is to always close the loop, right? Once again, when you create a loop, make sure to resolve it by the end of the video. So I'll show you the number 1 strategy. I used to double my income, right? Build up the tension, explaining the mistakes you made before finding the strategy, and then deliver on the payoff, right? Now, here's the strategy. I promise. Raise my prices and simplify my offer. So when you write open loops, you can ask yourself these questions to make sure that your open loops are always a hit, right? Number 1, does your open loop spark curiosity, right? Are you creating a need to know, feeling for the viewer, right? Does the viewer like feel the need to know, to feel the need to want to continue watching, right? Does your open loop connect to the audience's interests? So is it relevant to their pain points and their interests? Does it fit naturally into the video, right? So if the open loops kind of feel like it's disjointed or it's coming out of nowhere, that's no good, right? It should feel like a seamless part of the narrative. So like, hey, speaking of this, let's talk about this right now, right? So that's also a seamless way to transition from one section to another. And yeah, if this info is a lot to take in, right, really it's going to take some time to write banger open loops. So let's talk about how to learn how to write open loops. Here's some tips to fast track the process. So number one, when learning how to write open loops, you want to analyze other creators, right? Pick great creators, find YouTubers who keep you hooked until the end, right? Mr. Beast, Ali Abdaal, or whoever. Your favorite creators all use open loops, right? They have a way of pushing you to the next step of the story, to the next step of the video. You want to see how they actually do it, how they do their transitions. Pay attention to how they start their video, how they keep you curious in the middle, and see how they answer the question at the end without losing you, and how they transition from point to point. So write down the examples of open loops that made you stay. For example, if they say what happened next shocked everyone, then maybe that's something you can look at, right? Save these in a simple list to use later, or any other open loops, right? You want to have this all in a list. And really, you can use simple formulas, right? Curiosity, right? What happened next might surprise you, right? If there are certain strong open loops that really stand out, you want to take all of that down, and you start with certain simple formulas, and then over time you can use more complex open loops, right? Here's how I fixed it and what you can learn, right? Everything was great until it falls apart. Everything was great until it all fell apart, right? So that's for conflict. And then when you're writing open loops, aka transitions from one point to another, right? Write 3 versions, pick one topic, write 3 open loops, and yeah. So for this video, how I got 1 million views, right? I found one trick that got me 1 million views. You won't believe it. Maybe that one, maybe not super strong, right? This simple change got me 1 million views. Maybe this is a little bit better, right? Here's how I hit 1 million views in a month, and it's not what you think, right? A couple versions of open loops. And then you want to layer open loops into your script, right? Start with a big question, right? Add more curiosity halfway through the video, right? Make sure to answer everything at the end. Make sure to resolve the open loop is what I'm trying to say here. And yeah, write every day, right? Spend 15 minutes a day writing open loops, right? Probably within 7 days, you'll get really good at it. What I found changed everything, but no one told me about it. It made a huge mistake, right? This one hack saved me hours, and I'll show you how. Once again, when you see a great open loop, write it down and then try rewriting it, adapting it for your own script, right? Does it make people curious? Is it clear enough to understand? Would you keep watching? If it answers all these questions, then you're good to go in terms of your open loop. The summary: analyze other creators, practice writing open loops as often as possible, keep revising, and really just copy what works is the easiest way to start learning, right? And to make the process easier, keep a swipe file of each of the best open loops you see other creators using. Good swipe file should include all of your open loops, right? So really, best open loops, I have it all in a folder. And then in your open loops, it should explain why it works and any other additional insights that you have, right? With the open loops, why it works, any additional insights. You can see here, open loop is Bruce Wayne left Gotham, became Batman. The goal of this video is to teach you how to replicate that, right? That's setting expectations. There's a curiosity, framing video, right? So like really, it's less so the words that are being used in open loop that are important, but it's more so the psychology behind it, right? If you can break down the psychology, that is super impactful. And yeah, I have my own personal swipe file. If you want it, you can click the link in the description. It will be in the workbook, so you can get access to it. My favorite open loops are all within there. There you go. Now get out there and write some open